Hey folks, Stubbs here. Today on Stubby Squatch, we're gonna get a bit nerdy and we're gonna go over some hiking and camping terms. Hello friends, Stubbs here. So today is gonna be a little bit different. Today, I wanna go over some hiking terms with you all. We're gonna get a little bit on our nerdy side, if you will. So, let's just get right to it. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is trail name. A trail name is a name that a hiker gets while they're on the trail from other hikers. Your name could end up being anything, depending on the type of people that you're around. Me, the name I got was Stubbs. Go figure. Stubby Squatch. The next one I'm going to go over is a through hike. A through hike is a long distance hike that's completed within 1 year. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be completed within a year of 2022 or 2023. What that means is if you start the hike of April 1st, 2022, you have to complete it before that date in 2023. So within that year time frame. This kind of hike is usually done on the AT, the PCT, or the CDT. And if you don't know what those are very popular long distance trails right here in the United States. The Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail. Following the concept of a through hike, there are many different terms that go along with it. One term is Sobo. Sobo means southbound. And when someone says they're going Sobo, it means they're starting at the northest part of that trail and they're traveling southwards. On the same term, there's Nobo, or northbound, which means you start at the south end part of the trail and you're traveling north. Now, another way to complete a through hike would be what somebody would call a flip-flop. A flip-flop means you're doing a portion of the hike and then you're jumping to another portion of the hike, but still completing every step of that trail within that year. So you do the actual prerequisites for the through hike itself. Another term used with those long hikes would be a section hike. A section hike means that you can't dedicate yourself to do the complete through hike within that 1 year period. So instead, you do it in sections over time, still completing every step of that hike. One term that always chuckles me, and it's completely true, is the hiker stink or the dirt bag. Hiker stink or dirt bag is kind of the term that hikers will use with each other after being on the trail for days on end, where you haven't been able to shower, you're not wearing deodorant, you're not wearing perfume, you get that funk going on. And after a while, you don't even notice it anymore. You're used to it. But once you get around some day hikers or you get into town to resupply, everyone else is going to know exactly where you've been and you will have that hiker stink going on. A term you'll hear in camp would be hiker midnight. Hiker midnight is about the time that sun is setting and it's starting to get dark. It's when hikers have gotten into camp, they've set up all their stuff, they've had their chow, and they are crashing out because they are tired and they know they got to get up the next day and put on more miles. Hiker midnight is usually a time that's respected, that even though it might not be late, it might not be 10 or 11 o'clock, it might be as early as 7, depending on what time of the year you're hiking. But once that sun starts to go down, everybody kind of gets respectful and you just kind of mind your own and be quiet and let others rest up for their big mileage they're doing the next day. Base weight. Base weight is the weight of just your essentials on your back. Base weight does not include your clothes. Base weight does not include your shoes. It does include your warming layers, and it does include your rain gear. It includes all the things that you have in your backpack, excluding food and water. Within base weight, there are 3 different terms that are widely used. One is ultralight. which is where you have a base weight of less than 10. 2 is light backpacker, where you're carrying weight from 11 to 20 pounds. And 3 is your traditional backpacker, which is anywhere from 21 to 30 pounds, which is the average that most people end up carrying out. Each one is fine for whatever hike that you desire doing. It just depends on what experience you're looking for. Within the backpack, you're going to hear people talk about their big 3. Their big 3 consists of their sleeping shelter, whether it be a tent, a hammock, a lean-to, whatever they choose. Their sleeping system, so it would be your sleeping bag, your sleeping quilt, or whatever they're using to keep themselves warm at nights, and your backpack. Those tend to be not only the most expensive items that people will purchase, but those also tend to be the heaviest items that people will purchase. And a lot of people consider them to be some of the most essential, but to be honest, everything in your pack is essential when you're out in the woods. Cold soaking. Cold soaking is its own interesting beast. Cold soaking refers to your food and how you're preparing it while you're out on trail. A person who cold soaks their food will put them within water in a container, put it in their pack, and continue on for the day. And let that water rehydrate whatever food that they have. So by the time they get to their camp that evening, their food is rehydrated and ready to eat. The food will be cold, and personally, I think it'll be gross. But some people enjoy it. They find it saves weight because now they don't have to carry fuel. They don't have to carry a stove. It saves money because they don't have to buy either one of their items. So for them, it's what they choose to do. And if it works for them, that's great. Poopertunity. This one is one of my favorites just because a word that has poop in it is always fun anyways. And to say the word poopertunity is just hilarious. So poopertunity, that means taking a poop when you have the opportunity to do so. So if you're going down the trail and there is a privy, we'll get to that one in a minute, you'll take that opportunity to use it because you don't know the next time you're going to find a privy where there'll be an area where you're kind of secluded. You know, maybe you got a really nice wooded spot where you can go to the bathroom and get rid of the morning earlies. A little more private. So take your poopertunities when you can. That moves on to cat hole. A cat hole is a hole that you dig to bury your waste. Usually you want that to be about 6 inches down so you can bury it good so no one is accidentally finding your mess. And as backpackers, what we'll do is we'll actually try to take a stick and poke it in the center, kind of like a graveyard, almost to try to warn you that 6 inches down, you're not going to find gold, but you may find some nuggets. That brings us to a privy. A privy is an outhouse of sorts that you will find at shelters along the trail. A privy can just literally be a bucket with a ring on it out in the middle of the woods, or as fancy as having walls, a ceiling. You might even find one that's heated out there. Who knows how fancy the trail will get. But more often, it's anywhere that you can use the bathroom that's an actual structure and is more than just a hole in the ground. Moving back towards gear, I will talk about a bear bag or a bear canister. A bear bag or a bear canister is what you put anything that smells in it. So your food is an obvious answer. Same thing with your trash, your toothpaste, any lotions that you happen to bring out, any medications that have a smell to it, anything that could attract an animal, you want inside of this bear bag or a bear canister. That is to protect you, and it's actually to help protect the wildlife. When you get to camp, this comes particularly important. When you get into camp, you want to set up what they call the Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle is where you position yourself, you position your food, and you position your cooking area in a triangle-like formation, with the wind blowing from you to the smelly items. Between each end of the triangle, you want about 70 paces. This will give you distance between the items that might attract animals. A bear hang is the way that you would store a bear bag. So a bear hang is when you find a tree and you throw a line up over a limb and you pull your bag up towards that limb in the tree. You want to make sure it's 5 feet away from the trunk of the tree. You want to make sure it's 5 feet away from that limb. And you want to make sure it's 12 feet at least away from the ground. This helps deter animals from being able to get towards your food. A tent platform. This is just a small wooden deck that you will find at most shelters along the trail. It's an area that's made for you to set your tent up on. Dispersed camping or stealth camp is when you camp anywhere that's not directly within a sheltered area. Make sure when you do this that you are following all rules and regulations that go along with the trail or whatever wilderness that you are in. Leave no trace. Leave no trace is something that should be easy for us all to be able to do, but it obviously is hard for some. Leave no trace just simply means when you go out in the woods, no one should really know that you were there. You don't go wandering off from the trail in areas that you're going to hurt the wilderness. You don't leave your trash everywhere. You don't destroy whatever spots that you're in. You pick up after yourself, bring all your trash out, and try to leave the trail as exactly how you found it. A trailhead. A trailhead is just simply the start of a trail. Usually at trailheads, they'll have like a little information booth. Within that information booth, you'll see a map that will give you distances that the trail runs, different cutoffs on the trail, anything you could find. Some of them will post what animals you'll have, and usually they'll also post whatever regulations go along with that trail. Karens. And I don't mean the unhelpful people that you run into public that want to complain about everything. Karens are actually very helpful and very useful for hikers. What Karens are a pile of rocks that are usually set up in areas where there isn't any trees or foliage or any way to be able to mark that trail. So they'll build these rock piles so when you get up above the tree line, you can see which way you need to travel in order to complete that trail or to stay on it. This protects you, the hiker, and it protects Mother Nature because everyone isn't wandering off trail and ruining areas that is already hard for plants to grow. Puds. This one also kind of cracks me up. Pointless ups and downs. So a pud is that spot on a trail where as you're going up and all of a sudden you watch it drop right back down and then you're busting your butt to go back up and you're dropping it back down, and the whole time you're just saying to yourself, what are we doing? Who designed this trail? Are they just trying to make us tired? Are they just trying to make this hard? What is going on? So during that frustration, everybody thinks to themselves the same thing of how pointless these ups and downs are, giving it the name Puds. A false summit. A false summit is another irritation that hikers run into. A false summit is that spot right at the top, or almost, where as you crest it and you think you're there and you're getting ready to look over the view only to see that the trail goes higher and the peak is farther than what you originally thought it was going to be. Right as you're just about to relax and say, thank God we made it, you look up and nope, you got another quarter of a mile to go and it's straight up to that top. Types of fun. I like this term. I think it's hilarious because it makes me think of so many conversations I've had with hikers. So there are considered at least two types of fun. The first type of fun is it's fun the entire time. The entire time you're going, you're laughing, you're giggling, it's not too hard, you're not feeling like you're getting exhausted, you're just having a grand old time. And then there's the second type of fun, where it is just kicking your rear the entire time. You're just exhausted, you're physically frustrated. Now you're starting to trip over roots the whole time and every rock is in your way. But then when you get done, you look back and you're like, that actually was a lot of fun. And I'm really glad we did that. I really enjoyed that hike. I personally also call that a willy. That's not a true part of this term at all. But if you ever climb willy, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Willy is a 2 type of fun for sure. Peak bagging. Peak bagging is actually really popular, especially here in New Hampshire. We have what's called the 48 4,000 footers, where people try to get to those peaks of those 48 mountains. So a peak bagger is that person that is their one goal. It's not so much to absorb the trail. It's not so much to enjoy the trail itself. It's to get to that top peak. If that's what you enjoy, you go right ahead and you bag every peak that you can. I personally feel that there's more part in the journey itself, but to each their own. You do you and you be happy. That walks into the next section, which would be hike your own hike. Hike your own hike means no matter what you hear, no matter how you know this person's doing it or that person's doing it, or the trail goes this way, but there's a side trail that goes around here, but that's not the true trail. It doesn't matter. You hike your own hike as long as you are doing a couple of things. Number 1, you're still being safe. Hike your own hike doesn't mean you're going to go out not prepared. You need to make sure you're prepared. You need to make sure you know what you're doing. Number 2 is you're being respectful to both other hikers and Mother Nature. Hike your own hike does not mean you get to be a jerk. It does not mean that you get to destroy Mother Nature or just do whatever you want because, hey, I'm hiking my own hike. That's not how it's used. Hike your own hike means if you want to try to, like I mentioned before, you want to bag that peak and that is your focus. So you are going to run up that mountain to get as many peaks done in a day. If that's what makes you happy, you do that. You hike your own hike. Where instead, if you want to just make your way up the trail, you want to take photos, stop every once in a while, breathe it in. If that's the hike you want, you go right ahead and you hike your own hike and you enjoy that. A trail blaze, or just a blaze. A trail blaze is a marker on a tree. This is usually done by paint, and you'll see it'll be a rectangle about the size of a paintbrush where you can literally see the worker just put a mark going down the tree. They're usually not very long, maybe 1.5 feet to a foot, and they're probably about 5 inches wide. Each trail is going to have their own color. For example, the Appalachians Trail Blaze is white. So you follow the white trail blaze the entire time and you know you're on the right trail. There are other kind of trail blazes too, like pink blazes, but I'm not going to go into those in this video. Maybe I'll do some of those in another one. A switchback. A switchback is when you have a trail that's trying to make its way up to the top of a mountain, but instead of going straight up, they'll zigzag. They'll do this so the incline is not so aggressive and makes it easier on the hikers. This, for whatever reason, is a philosophy that here on the East Coast, we just decided to let go. And you will find more often than not, we just get straight to the point and we don't take that nice leisurely switchback back and forth as we make our way on top of the mountains. Gorp. Who doesn't love a good gorp? Gorp is a term that's used for a trail mix that you'd bring out. It actually stands for good old raisins and peanuts. Now you'll find things from chocolate to gummies to whatever the person desires inside of it. Marshmallows even I've seen. But it all goes down to that original gorp that we used to get way back in the day as kids. Trail magic. Trail magic is seen a lot around the trails that are the Thru Hike trails. Again, the 3 majors that I mentioned before. Trail magic is when people do things for the hikers to try to help them. Whether they give them rides to and from the trail to things that they need. Bring them supplies, bring them food, give them shelter. That all falls underneath the trail magic category. Now, the people who are doing the trail magic are called trail angels because they're seen as angels to the hikers to give up their time, give up their money to just help someone try to enjoy this great experience and this great adventure that they're on. And to any trail angels out there that happen to see this video, thank you very much for what you do. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I hope you learned something. I will throw in a disclaimer. None of these are straight definitions. There may be definitions out there. These are just terms that I've learned so far from what I've experienced being on the trail and talking to other hikers and even watching other hikers' videos that they've made. These are all things that I've learned from them, and I've kind of compiled to just a beginning vocabulary list for you all so that you all might be able to learn a little bit more. And in the future, as I talk and these terms come out, you can be like, oh, I remember that term. Or you can go back and watch this video again and be like, ah, that's right. That's what that term meant. I thank you all so very much for watching. And if you'll please like this video, subscribe to this channel, share it with your friends, tell everyone that you can. I love making these. I love sharing my passion, and I'm so thankful for all of you for watching. So folks, I hope you have a great day.